Welcome to the Landing Strip with Nick Lynham and Mikey Garcia, presented by From Financial.
Welcome back to the Landing Strip on a great night in the old results side of things in my two favorite sports worlds. The Winnipeg Jets make it 9 straight over the Minnesota Wild in a game that's gonna have us talking some good and some bad probably. But they make it 9 straight versus the Wild. Leave game 10 of the season 7-3-1. We'll get into some of that with the 10-game outlook and with what some of our big picture thoughts are. And then the Toronto Blue Jays, after losing in the 18th inning last night, just before 2 a.m., though it felt like that was inevitable with the lineup they were running out there, make it a best of 3 with a convincing win in a game that Shohei Ohtani started on this night and wasn't much of a threat on this night. I'm feeling pretty good. My vibes are pretty good after what I just witnessed on that side of things. How you doing tonight, Mikey?
I'm finally awake. It was a long night last night. That game, I was glued to the TV for it. We didn't get the result we wanted at the end of it, but just to be a part of watching 2 full World Series games like that was absolutely incredible. So, tired as all hell, but the game tonight woke me up, and the Jets all over the place woke me up a little bit. Sometimes they just ask you how many and not how, and this is the time we got to do that because, maybe it wasn't the prettiest overall for the Jets, but hey, they got the W. They racked up some more points, kept little brothering Minnesota. You can't ask for too much more than that.
Kevin K over on YouTube agrees with you, saying the Jets game was the classic. They don't ask how, they ask how many.
That's right.
Before we start diving into the chat, as usual, I'm going to ask for your big takeaway from this one. There was quite a bit of comments before we even got on, so we're going to dive through them tonight. What's your big takeaway from the Jets versus Minnesota tonight?
That Adam Lowry is on the verge of returning, and it can't come soon enough. It was rough. That was just a rough game defensively. It was kind of rough offensively. They need a stabilizing force for sure. Yeah, even if the results are coming, right? You can't play this way in the playoffs and win. So it's going to be real nice to see Adam Lowry, who looks like he's on the verge of returning. It looked like there were some conversations pregame. Seems like he was a scratch today. And the move over of Vlad Nemestikov to the wing, I think it was the big signal that Adam Lowry is going to be here much sooner rather than later.
Yeah, not the prettiest win for the Winnipeg Jets on this night. One game after, the coach really wasn't too thrilled about the second periods. Second period was where this one kind of fell apart again.
Yep.
Before they get some third period magic. Matt Hyman says more people should ask how. I won't hold my breath though. Yeah, I think Gilbert Marion summed it up best here on YouTube. Outshot and slightly outplayed, but when you have Helly, you're always in it. 3-3, Scheifele, Connor, Magic in overtime.
Yep.
It wasn't the prettiest game. Minnesota felt like the better team for a lot of it. The Jets continued to be a bit undisciplined. Minnesota was able to capitalize on the power play. The Jets had only gotten one power play opportunity in this one. And they end up sticking to that opportunistic self as they've been early on this year, capitalizing on some big plays. Bang, bang. Neil Pionk and Logan Stanley going across the blue line, getting pucks through.
Hallelujah.
With Gabe Vilardi and Vlad Nemestikov. Great net front work. So it was nice to see that back-to-back. Obviously played a big part in them getting a singular point here tonight.
Yep.
And then Gus Nyquist, talk about a big time to have his first of the season, sorry.
Yep.
Against his former team there. A little bit of a revenge game situation from Gus. So yeah, the Jets were definitely opportunistic, but wasn't the prettiest of affairs. Connor Hellebuck, I think this was maybe his best showing or the game that he's probably taken into his hands the most. But hey, they win. They get the 2 points. We've been saying all year, as long as they pace well in that department while they're unhealthy, I think that's going to be a good sign, and they're about to get some big help. But this is the type of play you just can't continue on once, even before those bodies get back, but especially after.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, you had a couple former Wild going out and doing some murder there. There's some confusion. Was it Nino? Was it Gus? Half the internet seems to think it's Nino's. The other half thinks it was Gus's. I think officially they gave it to Nino, but there was some question on whether or not that's going to get changed later.
Oh, I thought they gave it to Gus, and maybe they're changing it to Nino. Well, I guess we'll
See,
figure
that's what I'm
this out.
saying, right? So it's we'll see what the official box score ends up with probably tomorrow when they do the adjustments. But yeah, that was either way. Hopefully they give it to Gus. It'd be nice to maybe get that monkey off his back and help him get going a little bit here, because yeah, they need some middle six punch, and they need it soon. Even with Lowry coming back, they still need somebody to get going internally here.
No, for sure, for sure. And as they sort through it, we expected this the beginning of the year to be a bit of a learning curve with this group. It's definitely been that, and they're still finding ways to win. You can't apologize for having the best goaltender in the NHL. Teams would kill to get the types of saves that we're getting night in, night out. And it's definitely not a bad thing to take advantage of that while this team isn't healthy. T-Will, very rare of T-Will, but made me laugh as we were waiting here, says, at $17 million for 82 one-hour-long games, Kirill Kaprizov makes about 57.59 per second on the ice. That means the Wild just paid Kaprizov about $170 for that beauty pass to Scheifele in overtime. What do you think of that?
I mean, you can't get much better value than that. That's a fucking bargain right there. That's great for the Jets. Yeah, that was absolutely wonderful to get to take advantage of that in overtime.
Yeah, it was kind of the reverse of their first goal. The goal that Minnesota first gets on the board, Kyle Connor throws a pizza into the middle of the ice for the Minnesota top line, and Kaprizov to come back and take advantage of on some really weird goals. There were some really weird bounces going around. And then Kaprizov had to return the favor. Connor gifted him one early. Kaprizov gifts the Jets the winner. And at this point, at 3-on-3, Josh Morrissey, Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, I'm taking those three
every time
against almost anybody. They get their chance, and they're most likely putting it in. We're used to seeing that, and they secure the win there. But definitely thought that was funny. T-Will has occasionally got some good ones in him, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a charity breakfast with all the turnovers being handed out. It was tasty there. So the fact that we got to be on the positive end of it this time around was nice.
Also, Choices TK points out, Pionk finally got you some points, Mikey.
Thank God, hallelujah.
How you feel about the fantasy tonight?
He gets to actually stay on the team. This is buying him, another week maybe. So we'll see how this keeps going. But if him and Stanley are gonna keep going out and putting up points like this, then we'll be okay.
You should even get an extra assist for the Brock Faber goal. Talk about
jeez.
Getting Pionk.
Yeah. Can I get like a half point for own goals? Does that work?
That was one of those moments for him. This was an interesting game. Let's start with Pionk and Stanley. Obviously, a lot of talk about Logan Stanley and his start. And I think this was a game where you saw some of the good from both of them and some of the bad. Offensively, like Neil Pionk and Logan Stanley are two guys I do think positively impact the game in the offensive zone. Stanley's getting those pucks through this year more efficiently, it looks like. And, hey, you get the puck to the net with Gabe Velarde in net front, and good things are going to happen. Neil Pionk, I don't think we have complaints about his game in the O-zone. Another guy that's going to get pucks through. They both get points on those two goals, bang, bang. But a bit of a journey at the other end of the rink at times. And when they get passing it to each other back and forth in the D-zone, and no one's able to kind of take charge, that's when I get a little bit nervous.
Yep.
Obviously, Neil Pionk has that brain fart to bring this to a tie game. What did you see out of Pionk and Stan today, who get on the board, continue doing some good things in big moments. What are you seeing?
That's kind of what the story's been to start the year with them. You'll get a couple big moments in the game, something that'll stand out, flashy and offensive, which is great, right? You need those points, you need those goals, absolutely. But then when you actually take a step back, and try to see the forest for the trees, yeah, they got kind of caved in again 5-on-5. The two of them together were outshot, they were outchanced. I'm pretty sure they were out high danger chanced again. It's not great overall when they're having to play 20 plus minutes a game as a second pairing together. It's too much. It's above his head. So yes, the offensive is nice. We're getting those that we didn't get that before, right? He's Al Camino on YouTube. Logan Stanley's 2 secondary assists from a 3-year extension, and it's kind of true, right? Like we haven't seen these kind of quote unquote consistent points out of Stanley before. So it's good. That's a positive. I'll give flowers where they are. It's just still to have asking him to play second pairing every night like this. It's not great for the overall makeup of trying to win hockey games. It is working. We're getting some dubs. That's awesome. But Dylan Samberg can't get back soon enough.
Zero Ghost 8 says Stan is now the third best defenseman on this team. What are we even doing?
Oh God.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things we've been talking about. They're having some good positive moments that are impacting the team on the scoreboard. It was nice to see them walk and use the offensive blue line.
Yep.
And get it over to the guy who had a better shot. It was great to see the net front there as well. But it was also Stan gets that penalty in the third period where they're able to tie it up.
Yep.
And
we talked about
get caught
Pion's
chasing
brain
in the
fart
D zone.
with the dump.
Yeah.
And it just, yeah.
It's one of those things.
How did you feel about Luke Schen's performance tonight? I noticed that was a bit of a topic of conversation.
I'm not there with Shen this year. He reminds me of a beer league player. Age hits everybody.
Yep.
It's tough sledding. Hey, he's gonna give you a fight, though. I'm at the point where I just kind of yawn at it, unless it's like a big, he's defending a teammate kind of thing. That was just set up along the board.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate for him to fall net front and end up kneeing the tying goal in.
Yeah.
It was very unfortunate
That was
play.
rough.
Him and Fleury are a bit of a ride, and we know this.
Yes.
We gotta wait for Dylan Samberg. Things are gonna change for the better. It's just, I'm not. I don't think Luke Schen's an NHL defenseman right now. Florida's looking for a veteran D-man. Hey, I'm willing to send them one.
We can make that sacrifice.
That's where I'm at there. Yep.
No, that's fair.
Speaking of guys that run out of ideas sometimes, I think that's like Fleury has the tools where I think you get happy about a third pairing D-man. It just feels like his brain shuts off. Like I think that's what the issue is there. I just think Shannon at this point is kind of career. Lost Nick's video for a bit there. Am I still going?
I can see you okay here. Yep. Give us a wave.
T-Will says, Nick Lynham, you should really listen to more of my comments. If you need a good laugh, you're missing out.
We'll make sure we get him, T.
I'm gonna read you out Choices TK's takeaway from today's game, and I want to run your thoughts by you here.
Excellent.
Not every game is a Picasso, goes the saying, but this wasn't even a Bob Ross. That was like children's finger painting. Every goal but the OT winner was some a combination of a mistake, net front traffic, congestion, or an odd bounce. Simply a sloppy game that Jets survived and found a way. The second period and that 4 and 64 combo is an adventure that transitions between comedy, confusion, and anarchy at any moment and at times all at the same time. Game was just a microcosm of what can be good and bad from both players, which is kind of what we were just saying there.
Yep.
I think you saw the positives in the O zone. I think you saw a lot of the downsides in the D zone. 7-3 to start the year, though, with the injuries. We'll take it, but man, has it been ugly. How do you feel about Choices TK's wrap up there?
Well, I feel like it's a little bit of Bob Ross slander to say that he's in the tier below. That's a little cruel, but all right, that's fine. I see what you're saying, Choices. I agree wholeheartedly. It was a sloppy, messy muck of a game. It was not anywhere near their their best showing of what this team is capable of when they're kind of at full strength. Now, the thing is, we talked about it a lot last year too, especially at the beginning of the season. Just bank them. Just bank those points, get those wins, toss them in there, even when you don't deserve to win. Because guess what? You're going to lose some games later on that you did deserve to win, right? So you got to try to get that balance in your favor whenever you can. And that's not to say that you don't still try to improve. You don't still try to, make the tweaks. We saw it today, right? The lineup looked a little different in that middle six again because one, Adam Lowry seems like he's on the verge of being back, sooner rather than later. And that means you got to shuffle some guys around. So that's good. That's what you want. You may not always go out there and paint the Picasso or the Bob Ross, but as long as you're still swapping out your paintbrush, you're trying something different to see what's going to work, I think is a good thing. And then that second period, they've had some brain farts lately in the second period. TSN showed an infographic during the break there of the Jets being giving up, I think it's like 4 times the amount of goals in the second period as opposed to the first, right? So there's something about it, whether it's a long change, I don't know what, but there's something in the second period right now where they're just getting behind the 8 ball. And if we can kind of right that ship, we'll be all right. Last year, the Jets were fantastic when they had a lead going into the third. They were one of the best teams in the NHL in that situation. So if we can kind of get back to that, making sure that we're in a positive situation going into the third, we can maybe start to, close up some of these gaps.
No, I think you nailed it. I think Choices kind of nailed it. Wasn't a Picasso, wasn't close, but at the end of the day, they're able to win their 9th straight against Minnesota, who it just seems like they have their number. It is a little brother, big brother relationship in the Central at this point. And through 10 games, like I said, I've been trying to keep myself measured. If they were going to finish just above 500 or around 500 while the injuries were here, all good in my books. The fact they're 7-3, they have the second best goal differential in the Central, though a lot of that running off the highest goals saved above expected and highest goals above what they've expected to create. You're not going to live like that forever, but to live off of that while you're banged up, I think it's a very good thing. And we're going to see continued growth. So you're building off a great place at 7-3, and it sounds like Lowry is just around the corner. I want to jump to that here in a second. It's also another blow to Minnesota, who's currently second last in the division. They've been having trouble getting out of the gate. This felt like a game that was definitely winnable for them, and they didn't get it. And we've talked about it. It's very hard in this league to dig yourself out. So not only did you steal a game, but you really did hurt a division rival in the Wild and how you did it. So I'm in a good place there. You mentioned you read into today's lineup. Let's talk about it. You read into today's lineup as a bit of an indication that Lowry's around the corner. What were you reading into? What stood out to you today? Let's talk about Adam Lowry, who's now practicing in a regular jersey, being around the corner. And Gilbert Marion points out, I heard Lowry will be playing with the Moose before he returns. There was some talk on social media about wondering if that's what Arneal meant when talking to the organization and Lowry about a plan. Would you expect him to get a bit of a look with the Moose as a rehab stint? And what did you read into today's lineup that had you thinking you have what they're looking to do figured out?
So with the rehab stint, if my memory is right, they're allowed a 2-week rehab stint with the Moose for the player without it affecting any type of cap waivers, all that type of stuff. So that is always a possibility. You may see it be coming off of a long-term injury like this. I wouldn't be surprised if they go that route. It's all just going to depend on how game ready they feel like his body is. So if you listen to us in the last episode, we talked about who's going to be the person moving over once Lowry returns. You're going to have an extra center that, you don't plan on sending one of those guys down. Those are still, your NHL guys. Is it going to be Morgan Barron? Is it going to be Vlad? I think we both kind of came to the conclusion that we'd rather see, Vlad on that fourth line staying at center and maybe Morgan Barron get a shot at the wing to start out. But it's interesting that today they've moved Vlad over to the wing to put him next to Taves. and they moved Barron up to the third line center role, which was a little bit interesting, having Parker Ford come in for that fourth line. So, yeah, it did say to me though that Adam Lowry is a lot closer than what we were thinking. Plus, it gives Morgan Barron the extra ice time that I think a lot of us have been kind of looking for to see if he can actually use that big frame and that speed in a slightly better situation. So it was interesting to me that, yeah, Lowry, I think he is just he's knocking on the door.
Yeah, I think it told us that Vlad will be moving to the wing and Barron will stay at center. It's funny because I do think Barron is the better center between him and Vlad, and I think Vlad is a natural better player on the wing. So works for me. Was interesting to see Barron's line getting the promotion, played third most at 5-on-5. We're the best line by underlyings today.
Yep.
And obviously get on the board to tie this one. I think, yeah, I think by keeping Barron at center, bringing in Parker Ford to play center on the fourth line, and moving Vlad up, I do think that was a bit of an indication on who's going to stay center.
Yep.
So I guess where would you go from here? Do you expect Lowry to kind of plug into that Barron spot and Barron bump down one with Parker Ford then? Is that what you're kind of thinking here?
I think that's where they're going to start it out if Lowry's ready to go. It puts Lowry and Nino back together, and it lets the Taves Vlad Nemestikov experiment continue while we wait for Cole Perfetti to come back.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we're going to look at. Lowry, Nino, Gus, I guess, will be the first look, with Barron back to the 4C with Koepke and Pearson. Koepke made a nice drive, used that speed, drove to the net, goes to the far post, and just missed. Was excited there. I thought he was going to get his first of the year. But yeah, no, the Barron thing's interesting, because I do think he's a player with what you have going on in the middle six that's continued to drive the bus and continued to try and pull the rope in the right way.
Yep.
And I know Choices had brought up the idea of him potentially being the winger for Taves. I had someone else, I don't know if he's in the chat tonight, bringing that up as well. The one thing Taves, we seem to be looking for line mates for Taves that are going to work. It's kind of consistently been Iafallo of late with a different winger around the other side. Historically, John Taves has really worked with speed, and I look at the lineup and I see two guys that really match that right now, and that's Kyle Connor and that's Morgan Barron. And with Taves kind of playing second or third line minutes, depending how each line's going, we've seen a bit of a mix there. And with Lowry coming back, I wouldn't mind seeing Barron on Taves' wing, because you might unlock something on that third line, knowing the Lowry line is going to be a defensive line. Each game that Morgan Barron plays, man, the tools are there, and I think given there's been flashes with Taves, but there hasn't been a lot of consistency, I do wonder right now if Morgan Barron could really help pull the Jonathan Taves thing along.
Yeah, I think I agree. I would like to take a look at that. I think it could work for all the reasons that you listed off there. He gives you that speed, he gives you that size. And that's something that, yeah, Taves has traditionally worked real well with, having that streaky, player coming down the wing. So it'd be fun to take a look at to see if they can do it. But it appears right now, at least to start out with, Barron's going to be centering that fourth line.
And it's a great depth to have too. He's obviously done great in that role, and he's
100%.
finding special teams minutes. I think he's going to be all right.
Yep.
He is just a player I'm growing more and more interested in, potentially seeing him next to some options as the middle six continues to be a bit of a work in progress. Should we move into the From Financial Faceoff tonight?
Right on. Let's hit it. Right on.
All right, it's time to hear from you in the chat. What was your From Financial Faceoff difference-making aspect of this game? What tipped the scales in the right way? What was not going the right way? What are the Jets missing? What did they have? Mikey, as usual, I'll start it off with you. What is your From financial face-off on this night?
Sometimes you just need a special player or a couple special players to, go out and win you a game you maybe shouldn't have deserved to win. So my From Financial face-off after like I said, just a muck of a game is just the semi-psychic connection between Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor. It just, the two of them on the ice, especially in an overtime situation, is just fucking magic. And it's a pleasure to watch. So in a game that the Jets absolutely did not deserve to win, I'm going to go out and say that it was nice to have those two guys together. They're on pace for a pair of 100-point seasons right now, and it's a fun time to be those two guys.
I like where you went there, and having that is obviously a key aspect to how the Winnipeg Jets pull out today's win, especially in overtime. I'm going to go where Caitlin over on YouTube went and say it's Connor Hellebuck. On a night like tonight, you see why that man was the MVP of the NHL last year. While this team's needed it, he's stepped up in a big way early on here, and he's looking to make it a three-peat for the Vezina. This is going to be a game we remember as we talk about it. I like that from Caitlin for today's From Financial Faceoff. Turd Ferguson's From Financial Faceoff is Vladdy 2-run bomb and Bieber dealing before Bassett came in to do more of the same. And you know what? I like that. The Vlad home run after walking Nathan Lucas, huge moment to take the lead, but it felt like they needed some insurance. You didn't want to see LA get the next run.
Yep.
Bieber, not once but twice, puts down Ohtani on Caves. Keeps the game tight, doesn't let the Dodgers score. Bassett's become a relief ace for this team after starting all year. Absolute dog out of the pen. Great 2 innings from him. And then the offense is getting dirty with it. Get some guys on, hit some bloops. That Andre Jimenez at bat, absolutely clutch spot.
Doing it all without George Springer.
Doing it all without George Springer. Bo Bichette with a huge at bat. Big Ernie with that double. Barger with a single.
Yep.
You saw the Toronto Blue Jays chip away like the Toronto Blue Jays do. They got some power. They got some big hits in big spots, and then they just chipped away at it. That's a huge win to bring this to a best of 3. I'm very excited. I'm flirting with the idea of driving to Toronto again.
Right.
Come on.
I mean, we're going to do it. Now's the time.
Al Camino also goes the baseball direction, saying From Financial Faceoff, Brendan Little staying in the bullpen. Oops, wrong game.
We were so close last night. So close. Could have just left him in there.
I got to say, I'll say this. Obviously, no one wants to see Brendan Little in World Series games right now.
Correct.
I saw people on social media actually bitching about John Snyder bringing him in last night. He was the last guy out of the pen in the 7th. There was no one left. Like you got to go to him, and he put up a 0 in the first inning.
Yeah. What else were you going to do? Lauer had already pitched with a 63 pitch. Like, poor guy. Like, let him sit. He was tired.
Eric Lauer was an absolute dog.
Absolutely. That game doesn't go anywhere near as long without him. That was incredible.
Unfortunately for the Jays, it was done in the 12th.
Yep.
When Nathan Lucas doesn't take that walk on that 8th pitch from Clayton Kershaw with Vlad next having to see Kershaw.
Yep.
You take that walk in a run, and Vlad sees Kershaw. It was game over from that spot on. That lineup was never going to be able to manufacture another run.
Yeah.
Never going to be able to do it.
That was your chance.
Some more ball talk over on Twitch. D-Labs25's From Financial Faceoff is Vlad Jr. hitting a dinger and having our heart and multi-Vezina winning goalie be what he will need to be. Be what we need him to be sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's exactly it. Hey, you can't apologize for having the best goalie in the world.
Yeah, that's the way it's going to go sometimes.
Zero Ghost Ace From Financial Faceoff is Logan Norris Stanley. Hey, he continues to give the people moments to flashes of brilliance to get excited about. I'm not buying the full game just yet, but there's been some good in there, and that's better than it all being bad. So you know what? We'll take the step.
That's right. Ken Tarrant on Facebook says full vote on trying Barron with Taves, then add in Perfetti. Could be magic.
It's an angle I wouldn't mind seeing.
Yep,
It's an
that
angle
could
I
be
wouldn't mind
that would
seeing.
be a fun trio to take a look at.
Turd calls Lauer the forgotten man back there, always solid. He definitely was like the underrated guy for them, especially in the first half of this year when the starters weren't going.
Yep.
Um, got to finish off the final game too of the regular season. He was an absolute dog for them.
Yep.
Um, it was always Toronto in 7, by the way.
I had 6, so either way, I'm fine with it.
Fair. Back to Jets hockey here. 10 games in. 10 games in. Let's give an overall wrap of where we're at. Some of the trends we're seeing. Some of the bigger picture conversations. Teams like to look at games in 5 to 10 game blocks. Through 10 games, what is Mikey's biggest takeaway on the Winnipeg Jets?
So I've seen a little bit of chatter about how, the Jets are right at the top of the list for, goals saved above expected, right at the top of the list for goals scored above expected. Like they're getting outchanced and they're still, so like it's, on one hand you look at it and go, well, that's not sustainable. That's going to come crashing down. It's a house of cards.
Yeah.
The way I've kind of been looking at it though is, yeah, they're doing that right now, but they're doing that with so many of these pieces that are missing. That, you know what, I will take running this luck, this high luck run for this stretch right now, bank all of these points, and then we can get back to, a little bit of regression towards the mean, but playing solid hockey, playing their system, the one that got them the success that they had last year. Once they've got a more, you're never going to have a fully healthy lineup. That's just the way hockey goes in the NHL. But once they have a more consistently, kind of healthy lineup, I really feel like we're going to kind of see this system get back to where it was. So I'm actually okay with, them riding this high train of luck right now, because I feel like once they get everybody back, we're going to see those fundamentals and just kind of go back to, this wave after wave of forecheck and these 4 lines, and hopefully we'll have enough scoring to kind of get us through. 7-3 after these 10 games, you're an eighth of the way through, and you're missing all of these pieces. Yeah, I'm thrilled. This is it's more than what I could have asked for to start off the year. I had them 3rd in the Central at the end of the year. They're sitting 2nd right now. Anything in that range, 2nd I think would be a huge win for them. And if they can, stay a little bit healthy going forward after this point, I don't see why it couldn't happen.
I have to give Al Camino some credit because I laughed there for a second. He said Brendan Little doesn't even want to see himself in a World Series game.
He looked like, to be fair, yeah, he looked that way last night.
I'll share my thoughts, but at first I want to ask, because Gilbert gave a letter grade. So what would you give your letter grade on a 10, knowing what you just said?
B-.
That's fair. Gilbert's at a B. I'm going to go a B as well. So, as we know, I had the Jets coming wildcard 1. I thought they were the 3rd best team in the Central. But I thought this stretch of games and having a record not quite where they have it would kind of put them behind the 8 ball and have them in a bit of a chase. Now, Utah being one of the teams I had ahead of them is looking pretty smart 10 games in, but they got to show it over 82, that team. The Jets team's been there before. I think a B is a fair thing. Power play has continued to be a weapon for them early on in this year. That was one of my takes, was I thought Davis Payne really has this part of things figured out, and they've stayed among the best units in the league this year. They're getting saves from their number 1 goaltender. They're getting wins when Comrie's playing even. I believe they have a win.
Yep, they do.
Josh Morrissey, Mark Scheifele, and Kyle Connor off to big starts is really helping them offensively. Now they've been one of the lower scoring teams in the league. I think that's going to be the big picture concern most of the year, even when they get help back, though it won't look quite like it has. Excited to see this team when Lowry, Sandberg, and Perfetti are healthy. Excited to see where each of their games are at. And I think we'll have a better idea of what the bigger picture is somewhere into December, January.
Yep.
But to start off 7-3-0, bank those points, get away with some real sloppy play, and still win games, it could be worse. Now, if their record was reverse of what we're talking about, probably
story.
not feeling too good because you wouldn't expect much. But I think I think for the most part, with where they're at through 10, a lot of improvement to be had, a lot of improvement to be expected, given the returning of guys and what we've seen from this team the last few years. 7-3-0, I'll give them a B. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think that's I think it's fair for what they've been able to do with the people that are like Choices says. If you're grading on the curve, with the injuries, then it's the B. If this was a healthy group and we've seen this kind of play from, a full Jets lineup, yeah, different story at that point. We're giving them the benefit of the doubt. We're giving them some extra credit because of what they showed us last year, and we're just going to hope that they don't burn us once they do have a healthy lineup.
I do like this point from Choices where he says, and I was going to make a similar point from the opposite viewpoint here. Jets not able to sustain pressure and create scoring chances. That is also impacting their ability to draw penalties to allow that power play unit that's been so good to get out there.
Yep.
Slower, indecisive defense is also creating more penalties, but PK has been good this year. That's one thing I wanted to bring up. The Jets have seemed more undisciplined this year, and I do think a lot of it is they get caught chasing in the game based on their own errors at times. And part of that is relying on a D-corps filled with 3 guys that are hard to hide.
Yep.
And one that can't carry a partner and has his own difficulties at times.
Yep.
And that's just kind of a reality of the situation. So you get caught chasing the game a little bit, you're going to take more penalties. Hard to draw power plays when you are chasing. I do think that's something we'll see really start to be in the good side when Sandberg, Lowry, Perfetti are back, and the games aren't looking like this, where 5-on-5 will be a lot closer of a game, and the Jets will have some control at times and be able to draw penalties, which will allow that power play to go. I just thought that was an interesting point from Choices on Twitch.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully we're gonna see the amount of penalties taken start to cut down when you get Adam Lowry and you get Dylan Sandberg back in there eating up some of those minutes. Because like you said, it's coming when they're starting to get hemmed in a lot of the times, especially late in the games when they're playing above their station a little bit there. So hopefully those will get cut back and we won't have to kill 4 or 5 penalties every game until it's great that they are being able to do it most of the time, but it's too many opportunities. You're going to wear your guys down. It's not good.
Hey, 3 straight games, the PK is allowed a goal again, so we've been wondering a little bit.
Yep.
We've been wondering a little bit. That side of things. Caitlin says you can see glimpses of what this team can do when they have puck possession in the offensive zone. We're just spending so much time hand in the D zone with how weak our defense is with the injuries.
Yep.
And I think that is a fair take. This team, when they're able to roll shifts together in the O zone and really lean on teams and have that lunch bucket style where the lines are kind of looking similar, you're getting to the net. Both goals, or the first 2 goals, come from getting to the net and getting pucks through. You like to see that as far as creating offense, especially when you're having trouble doing so. So yeah, you do see glimpses, and I do think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic. You just can't get caught up in what you've seen through 10 because the guys coming back are going to change a lot of that, in my opinion.
Yep, 100% agree.
Gilbert's got special teams at an A, 5-on-5, a C+. And that's probably fair. Coming into tonight, actually, did you know this? At 5-on-5, the Jets were a -1 in goals for versus goals against coming into tonight.
I didn't know, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Special teams has been huge. They're only losing the PK 3-2. They got 2 PK goals. Power play's been cooking, but we're expecting improvements. It's hard to hide 2 bad pairs in the NHL.
Yeah.
Especially when you can't move the puck. You have a middle 6 that will get better with arguably their 4th and 5th best players coming back.
Yep.
I'm trying to be patient here. I'm trying to be level-headed.
Yeah, I think they've earned that. Not only with what they did last year, but again by banking the points this year. They're doing what they need to do to get through to get to a point where the reinforcements are on their way. So yeah, it's hard to find a lot to complain about. Even again on a night like tonight where they were pretty much outplayed.
Was hard to watch.
Right? They were outplayed for the vast majority of the game, but they still went out and they got those 2 points. So, when we look back at the end of the season and if the Jets are sitting in second place in the Central and they're only up by, a couple points, we'll say, shit, it's great that they were able to steal that game against Minnesota way back when.
No, 100%, 100%. And like I said, this was a team, I had them as the second wildcard team. I thought they'd be in the playoffs, still might, but it's another team that I think is pretty good that you actually just kicked down and made their journey this year tougher.
Yep.
It's a good win. It's a good win despite how it looked for a lot of it. It's a
Yep.
good win.
Exactly.
Big picture. Big picture.
Scott Arniel probably still won't be happy with how that second period went. He's probably going to have some choice words for the guys once the doors are closed, but I'm sure in public at the press conference he was happy to get a win.
Yeah, there's a time and a place for that one.
Yeah.
But he would have every right to still be upset about that second period. Are we worried? Are they going in and snoozing at intermission? What's going on with the second period?
Yeah, it's weird what's happening there. They're carbo loading too much during the first one, or I don't know what.
I honestly think that the long change with this group right now is just a big, tough aspect.
Yeah.
You kind of see it last game when Shen gets caught trying to go for the long change. It becomes a 2-on-1 on Stan, and they score. I think this kind of all plays into what we're talking about when this team has some trouble right now moving the puck. They get hemmed in their D zone. You add in the long change to all that, and I think that starts to play into why the second periods right now are a struggle. You just start piling little thing after little thing onto each other, and it becomes a big thing that snowballs.
Especially on the road where you don't have last change, right? So you've got that they're really behind the eight ball when they're with the middle six that we currently have.
Yeah, Turd Ferguson seems to agree. Says on YouTube, long change in a second, can't get the puck out your hoop for the long change.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of, let's see if this second period thing is a trend when a guy like Sandberg's back. And then we could ask more questions about it.
Yeah. Once Lowry and Sandberg have kind of locked down things for us, we'll see if the improvements are there.
Where did I want to? I had something in mind. I just slipped. Lowry comes back. Who's the first guy going down?
Probably Ford. Oh no, sorry. Like out of the lineup or down to the Moose?
Down to the Moose. They'll have to make
Lambert.
a roster move.
Lambert will be the first one sent back down to the Moose.
Okay, so why do you pick Lambert? Let's chat about it.
I think they'll just look at it positionally. I think they'll look at sending Lambert back down. I feel like before the season started, he maybe was there. We're going to have him up as insurance just in case Taves isn't quite ready, just in case they needed an extra center to kind of step in last second. I think he maybe was that idea before the season started and they watched him play. So I think now that with Lowry coming back, they'll send him back down to the Moose because Chibrikov can still slide in if you want him to on a wing somewhere. Whereas I feel like they're going to want to see Lambert playing probably still on the wing with the Moose anyways, but just having more minutes.
Yeah, I think it'll be Lambert too. You've seen when Lambert's gotten in, he's been playing with Vlad, and we just saw Vlad move to the wing.
Yep.
When Chibrikov's played, he's typically played with Taves, who will still be here. And he just hasn't taken the opportunity. Like, this has been a team, and I know it's only a few games, and we're not writing off his whole career here.
No.
But this has been a team looking for anything from the middle six. We're seeing different combinations all the time, and I just don't think he's really grabbed it at all.
Yep.
Looks like a guy that's going to need some more time with the Moose.
Yep, 100%. Even Chibrikov, unfortunately, hasn't been able to grab the spot and, take it and make a claim for himself. His most noticeable work lately has been riding off to the to the penalty box. So it's been a little frustrating that the kids haven't quite hit yet. But yeah, I think that's going to be our first spot is going to be Lambert going back down and Lowry slotting back in.
I also think they'll probably keep Ford around because he's a bit older. Like he's 25.
Yep.
And he's more of a fourth line replacement type of guy. You're not as worried about the development or taking another step. Whereas a guy like Lambert, you're going to want to see getting offensive touches.
100%. Yeah. Ford will come out of the
Ford,
lineup. He'll sit in the press box. That's not a big deal. And then we'll see where the lineup goes from there.
Terry Ferguson agrees. Says Lambert for sure getting nowhere with the Jets, needs more work. Gilbert Marion guesses Ford. Choices TK brings up something. I wanted to bring this up too. Says Harley signed 8 years times 10.587. The Dallas Stars lock up their number one or number two. They got two studs in there. Thomas Harley. What'd you think of that deal when you saw it come across the pike? He will be on Team Canada, I imagine, at this year's Olympics.
Yep.
10 and a half for Thomas Harley for the next 8 years.
That's some big money there. I'm curious to see what Dallas is going to be doing to try to make the cap work going forward, because they've got some big names now signed that it's going to start to get tight in Dallas. So this is the contract itself, is fine. I'm just more curious about what this means for their cap situation overall and who's going to be the odd man out.
Yeah, no, I think this deal is going to be, unfortunately, a very good swing for the Dallas Stars. Thomas Harley, especially the second half of last year, looks like he's going to be joining that fringe Norris conversation at some point here, I think. When you have people wondering who's better between him and Miro Heiskanen, that's quite the
That's good company to be in.
Good company to be in. I think that'll age really well for them. And it does have me questioning the same thing to you. Is Jay Robertson going to be sticking around in Dallas? I imagine he's going to get similar to the Kyle Connor contract.
He'll be looking for it.
In that. Wyatt Johnson's making good money now, though less money in today's new world.
Yep.
But yeah, they do. Ottinger's making 8. They do have some big money there. It's going to be interesting to see how they navigate it with all that talent, and they haven't had the start that they were looking for.
Yep.
But I do think Thomas Harley's the real deal, and I think a contract like this is going to be the norm for a guy like that. Gilbert asked a good question though. What's Makar going to make when comparing to this?
He's going to cash in. That's going to be an interesting one to see what they do, because he's going to
cup too.
Exactly. He's going to be able to get. Oh, he's got them over a barrel at that point. What do you go in asking for?
If I'm, I guess depends what my priority is. Cale Makar could write his own check. Like we talked about the idea, McDavid could make $20 million if he really wanted to. Cale Makar could make 18 to 20, I imagine, anywhere he wants. So it's really going to be, is he prioritizing the big deal, or does he go shorter term like you're seeing? So as the number rises, each new deal gets a bit higher. If he signed for a Gilbert Marion points out 15 to 16, could totally see it. Could see him beating Kaprizov. Fascinating. The one thing I'll say about the Colorado Avalanche, I'm not as scared of them at this point in time moving forward than I once was. That's a team that's the nuclear option there is terrifying.
Yes.
But they're getting older and more expensive and having more and more trouble filling out the depth groups. And it's going to get even harder. It's worth it to pay those guys, don't get me wrong. But as that team gets older, it's maybe not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's one of those things where at any given moment, they've got enough always where they can take over a playoff series and run roughshod over you. The issue it becomes, though, those situations start to happen less and less because it does become, like you said, more difficult to fill out those other spots. You're not in those situations as often as you used to be. So yeah, the nuclear option's always there. You don't want to be the one to have to meet them in the playoffs because they could go God mode at any second. But it, like you said, the decline is, start to be there, at least with the opportunities.
Caitlin says, I will never stop laughing if Necas gets more than Rantanen. And that's what's crazy. Like Colorado, I think their front office has done a lot of good things over the years, though lately maybe not as well.
Yeah.
Did they ever misread the room on that one?
Ooh, yeah, completely.
I'll say this, watching Necas with, or Nikash, or however you pronounce it, with McKinnon is actually kind of terrifying. They've been on a scorcher to start this year. I can't remember which game. I've only tuned into one of them. There's a real chemistry there, but he's also not the individual player that Rantanen is. He might be a better fit for McKinnon, honestly.
Yep.
Though who isn't a good fit for
I was going to say, you can pretty much anybody there.
But yeah, if they end up paying him more than Rantanen, did they miscalculate?
That would be
scenario?
hilarious.
And that's a deal that seems to be working out for everybody, actually.
Yeah.
Stankoven's settled in as the number 2C in Carolina that they've been looking for forever early in the year.
God, we could use one of those.
Plus, they got the futures, and there's talk of Panarin going there now.
Where's our Stankoven? Where do we go get one like that?
Hopefully it becomes Braden Yeager, hopefully.
Oh, that'd be great.
But it looks like Carolina's going to turn those assets into potentially Artemi Panarin or a name like that.
Yep.
As somehow the JT Miller thing didn't elevate the Rangers. I was told he was going to be the missing link there.
Right.
Rantanen obviously has been a stud for Dallas. Probably been really good for his rep too. He's no longer seen as McKinnon merchant.
Yep.
He's actually doing it.
Especially after these last playoffs there with the just the ridiculous point run.
And now Nikash is going to get paid a fortune to stay in Colorado or hit the open market. Pretty
Honestly,
interesting.
it's like you said. I think everybody kind of came out a winner from that trade, except
in
for
their
us.
own ways. Yeah, the central
Division
rivals, not so much.
Yeah.
Let's go into the 3 stars on this night, and we'll move forward with our days here. Let us know in the chat, who did you think was the 3 stars on this night? Could be baseball, could be hockey. I'll hear it all. I'll listen to it all.
Let's hit it. Right on.
Right on. Mikey, who's your 3 stars tonight?
Right on. So at number 3, Connor Hellebuck went out there and kept the Jets in a game that they probably didn't deserve to win. Jets were outshot pretty bad tonight, and Hellboy stood in there once again and gave them the chance to get to overtime for the Scheifele and Connor magic to take over. So number 3 star Connor Hellebuck. Number 2 star, I went back and forth between Chris Bassett and Vlad Domestikov. You've got Bassett, who's starter turned reliever, hasn't pitched, multiple days back to back since he was way back when in college, I think they said was the last time. Just turned into whatever you need me for. Whatever you need me for, I'm out there. So I think I'm going to give it to Bassett, but honorable mention to the Jets' Vladdy. And number 1 star, it's the Jays' Vladdy. It's from Vlad to Vlad. He gets the number 1 star tonight, like was mentioned earlier. That 2-run bomb on a night where Ohtani was pitching. Ohtani's getting all of the headlines. Ohtani's the most on base and in the playoffs, all this stuff. And Vladdy goes out there, hits that 2-run bomb. Games are coming back to Toronto no matter what. So those are my stars for the night.
Gilbert Marion has Helly, Morrissey, and Barron. Arc Sign has Vladdy, and Vladdy. Turd Ferguson, Bieber, Vlad, and Seabass. I'm going to go 3rd star. Probably his last start this year for the Toronto Blue Jays. Coming off Tommy John. Shane Bieber strikes out Ohtani twice, pitches and puts his team in a position to win. We'll go 3rd star Shane Bieber on this night.
Hell yeah.
2nd star, it's going to be Connor Hellebuck. This was one of those games, and boy, did the Jets ever need it with how that game looked for a bulk of it.
Yep. Connor
Hellebuck, the Hart winner, the 3-time Vezina Trophy winner, the guy that's looking for the 3-peat. And number 1, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., his 7th home run of this playoffs puts him as the franchise leader in career home runs in the playoffs. He just did it in 1 year. He signed for another 14 coming up after this year. Vladdy's having one of those runs, and his first of the World Series comes at a huge time against Shohei Ohtani. Welcome to the World Series, Vlad Guerrero. You're the number 1 star tonight. Let's go Jays tomorrow. And we're back with the Jets, I believe it's Thursday?
Thursday against Chicago. Revenge
Thursday
game for
against-
Johnny Taves. If you're a betting person, go out and get your Johnny Taves with a goal, because that's a revenge game.
We will be back and see you Thursday.
Right on. Good night, everybody.